No one seemed to stir up more animosity in James Coburn than one particular individual. His disdain was genuine and deeply rooted. Born as James Harrison Coburn III on August 31, 1928, in Laurel, Nebraska, Coburn's early years were marked by the harsh realities of the Great Depression. These challenging times instilled in him a quiet determination and inner strength, traits that would later define many of the tough yet composed characters he would portray on screen. Coburn's family eventually relocated to Compton, California, during his formative years. It was there that his fascination with acting and storytelling began to flourish. After a stint in the U.S. Army, where he worked as both a truck driver and a disc jockey during the Korean War, James Coburn pursued his passion for performance by enrolling at Los Angeles City College. He later honed his craft under the revered acting coach Stella Adler, laying the foundation for what would become a legendary career in Hollywood. His initial break came during the 1950s and early 1960s, as he made frequent appearances on television, quickly earning a reputation for his powerful presence and unmistakable voice. It wasn't long before the film industry took notice. His breakout role came in 1960 with the Western epic The Magnificent Seven, where he played Britt, a knife-throwing cowboy of few words. The performance not only elevated his status, but perfectly embodied the charismatic, steely aura that would become his trademark. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, James Coburn carved out a solid niche as a versatile leading man, becoming a fixture in action-packed films, classic westerns, and stylish spy spoofs. He was particularly memorable in Our Man Flint, 1966, and its sequel, In Like Flint, 1967, where he combined athleticism with a sharp wit and a suave charm, showing audiences his capacity to transition smoothly between serious and comedic roles. But Coburn wasn't limited to genre films. He also embraced more nuanced roles, delivering compelling performances in critically lauded titles like The President's Analyst and Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. The latter saw him reunite with acclaimed director Sam Peckinpah, with whom he shared a strong creative rapport. In these films, Coburn displayed an emotional depth that elevated his characters far beyond the traditional macho archetype. Among his most memorable cinematic achievements were standout roles in The Great Escape, 1963, Charade, 1963, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, 1973, and Cross of Iron, 1977. His collaboration with Sam Peckinpah in particular brought out some of the most layered performances of his career, reinforcing the idea that James Coburn was more than just an action hero. He was an actor with remarkable sensitivity and intelligence. However, the 1980s brought unexpected adversity. James Coburn was sidelined by a severe form of rheumatoid arthritis, which ravaged his body and greatly hindered his ability to work. The pain and physical changes were immense, but Coburn refused to let the condition define him. Through perseverance, and aided by alternative treatments such as MSM, methylsulfonylmethane, he experienced significant relief and was able to return to the screen. His comeback culminated in a powerful performance in Affliction, 1997, where he portrayed a cruel alcoholic father. Directed by Paul Schrader, the role earned him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in 1999. It was a moment of triumph, not just for the role itself, but as a recognition of his enduring talent, resilience, and decades-long contribution to cinema. Beyond his filmography, James Coburn held a prominent place among the elite circle of the so-called Hollywood Rat Pack. He frequently collaborated with and befriended iconic stars such as Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson, and Bruce Lee. His bond with Bruce Lee was especially profound. Coburn not only studied martial arts under Lee's guidance, but also admired his philosophical views. Their friendship was genuine and respectful, and Coburn had the honor of serving as a pallbearer at Lee's funeral in 1973. Off-screen, James Coburn was a man of culture and intellect. His commanding voice, love for jazz, and passion for philosophy and global travel gave him a worldly sophistication that distinguished him from many of his Hollywood contemporaries. While his film characters often projected toughness, those who knew him personally described him as deeply kind, loyal, and introspective. Throughout his life, Coburn experienced two pivotal marriages. His first, to Beverly Kelly, began in 1959 and lasted for 2 decades. Together, they had 2 children, a son and a daughter, who became central figures in his life. During this time, Coburn was at the peak of his career, starring in some of his most celebrated roles such as The Magnificent Seven, 1960, The Great Escape, 1963, and Our Man Flint, 1966. The stability of his family life provided a strong foundation during this intense and high-profile phase. However, after 20 years of marriage, James Coburn and Beverly Kelly divorced in 1979. The split was handled quietly and respectfully, signaling the end of an important chapter in his personal story. Over a decade later, Coburn found love once more, this time with Brazilian-American actress and former television host Paula Murad. The couple married on October 22, 1993, in an elegant ceremony in Versailles, France, a testament to their shared appreciation for art and beauty. Paula Murad became more than just a spouse. She was a partner in his artistic ventures and charitable pursuits. Their marriage, grounded in mutual admiration and emotional warmth, marked a serene and fulfilling period in Coburn's later years. Unlike the whirlwind era of his earlier fame, this chapter of his life was marked by selective acting roles and a focus on personal passions. His marriage to Paula was widely regarded as harmonious and filled with respect and love. Together, James and Paula Coburn established a meaningful legacy through the creation of the James and Paula Coburn Foundation, a nonprofit committed to supporting vital causes across education, healthcare, and the arts. Their foundation became a beacon of hope for numerous initiatives, from granting scholarships to disadvantaged students, to offering funding for independent filmmakers and promoting advanced medical research, especially studies focused on rheumatoid arthritis, the very illness that had personally afflicted James Coburn. Their shared dedication resulted in a lasting philanthropic imprint that remained influential even after Coburn's passing. The couple's compassionate efforts reflected not just a commitment to public service, but a deeply personal mission to create opportunities and relieve suffering for others, mirroring the battles Coburn himself faced. The onset of James Coburn's rheumatoid arthritis marked a difficult chapter in his life. Diagnosed in the late 1970s, the autoimmune disease inflicted severe chronic pain and drastically impaired his physical mobility. So debilitating was the condition that it forced Coburn to step away from acting for almost 10 years. However, he never allowed the diagnosis to extinguish his resolve. Despite the overwhelming physical toll, Coburn remained remarkably active and mentally sharp, determined not to let the illness define his identity or limit his ambitions. A surprising element in his life, considering the state of his health, was his unwavering passion for martial arts. Not only did Coburn train with discipline and seriousness, but he also developed a close and enduring friendship with legendary martial artist and actor Bruce Lee. Their bond went far beyond shared physical practice. It was rooted in philosophical inquiry, deep conversations on Eastern spiritual traditions, and a mutual belief in personal evolution and inner resilience. Coburn often credited Lee with broadening his awareness of movement, breath control, and internal energy, principles that later became invaluable tools in managing his own chronic pain. The depth of their friendship was reflected in Coburn's actions when Bruce Lee passed away unexpectedly at the age of 32 in July 1973. On July 25th of that year, Coburn stood alongside other notable friends and martial artists, including Steve McQueen and Dan Inosanto, as a pallbearer at Lee's funeral. It was a deeply emotional and symbolic moment for Coburn, who regarded Lee not just as a mentor and friend, but as someone who shaped his approach to life itself. Even years after Lee's death, Coburn continued to speak of him with admiration and reverence, frequently acknowledging the influence their friendship had on his mental and physical recovery. These teachings, rooted in mindfulness and strength of spirit, played a crucial role in Coburn's eventual return to the screen during the late 1990s. Within the Hollywood landscape, James Coburn was revered as one of the most relaxed and effortlessly charismatic actors of his time. His gravelly voice, trademark grin, and low-key charm created an air of effortless cool. Known for his easygoing nature and calm demeanor, he typically maintained harmonious working relationships. Yet even someone as laid-back as Coburn had limits, and one person in particular pushed him beyond them: Yul Brynner. Although both starred in the iconic 1960 Western The Magnificent Seven, their off-camera relationship was anything but friendly. In later years, Coburn would candidly express that no other actor ever provoked such strong dislike in him as Brynner did. The tension between the two was apparent from the very beginning of filming. Already a major star thanks to his Oscar-winning performance in The King and I, Brynner carried himself with a sense of entitlement and superiority that rubbed many the wrong way. His demeanor on set was marked by an insistence on top billing and an expectation that both cast and crew follow his lead without question. His clashes with director John Sturges over creative choices became frequent, and his vanity often disrupted production. Brynner demanded that cameras always capture his best angles, going so far as to halt scenes until the lighting suited him. For an ensemble film like The Magnificent Seven, where chemistry and balance among characters were critical, his behavior proved disruptive. In contrast, James Coburn embraced teamwork. Though not yet a widely recognized name, Coburn approached his role as Brit, the knife-throwing cowboy, with dedication and respect for the collaborative nature of filmmaking. He treated everyone on set, from crew to co-stars, with kindness and professionalism. But working with Brynner was a different story. Coburn grew increasingly frustrated by Brynner's constant need to dominate every scene, whether through camera placement, line allocation, or sheer on-set theatrics. One particular incident further escalated the tension. During a group scene, Brynner noticed that Steve McQueen, another actor with whom he famously clashed, was subtly stealing focus by fiddling with his hat and making nuanced movements that drew attention. Enraged, Brynner stormed off the set, demanding the scene be reshot to make him the visual focal point. Coburn, reportedly fed up with what he saw as childish outbursts, sarcastically remarked that Brynner was the biggest damn baby in the West. From that moment on, Coburn no longer viewed Brynner as a professional peer. Instead, he saw him as a hindrance to the project and a prime example of everything wrong with Hollywood egos. Over time, his disdain grew. It wasn't just Brynner's behavior that irked him. It was the overall atmosphere of vanity and hostility he brought to the set. Coburn far preferred working alongside grounded, no-nonsense actors like Charles Bronson and Robert Vaughn, men he respected for their authenticity and dedication to craft. To Coburn, Brynner embodied pretension and power-tripping, qualities he despised in an industry that, in his view, already had more than enough of both. To those around him, it was clear that James Coburn harbored deep contempt for Yul Brynner, whom he considered more invested in maintaining his prima donna image than in preserving the artistic integrity of the film. Though Coburn never publicly lashed out against Brynner, those close to him understood the depth of his disdain. In interviews conducted years later, when asked about The Magnificent Seven, Coburn would often dodge any direct mention of Brynner, responding with clipped remarks or diverting the conversation entirely. The irony, of course, is that despite their personal enmity, The Magnificent Seven became a revered cinematic masterpiece, largely due to the palpable chemistry among its ensemble cast. Some even speculate that the underlying tension between Coburn and Brynner enhanced their performances, adding an extra edge of realism to the story of rugged loners forced to work together for a common cause. However, behind the scenes, the friction between the two actors was as volatile as any Western duel. For Coburn, the experience was a bitter reminder of how ego and celebrity could compromise the spirit of creative collaboration. Following that film, the two men never worked together again, a decision that likely suited Coburn just fine. As his career continued with major roles in films like Our Man Flint, The President's Analyst, and Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, Coburn carried the memory of that early clash with him. Whenever he brought up the Magnificent Seven in conversations with friends or industry peers, it was seldom with fondness. Instead, it was usually accompanied by a wince and a sardonic comment about that royal pain in the ass. Throughout a career filled with hardened roles, gangsters, cowboys, tough guys, it wasn't a fictional villain or screen adversary who truly got under Coburn's skin. It was Yul Brynner, the one actor he openly and unapologetically loathed. James Coburn passed away from a heart attack on November 18, 2002, at the age of 74, closing the chapter on a remarkable life and a career that spanned more than 40 years in the film industry. He died peacefully in his Beverly Hills home, a longtime sanctuary he shared with his beloved wife, Paula Coburn. According to Paula, the couple had been enjoying a quiet and intimate evening together, enveloped in the soothing sounds of music. One of James's greatest joys outside of his acting career, when the unexpected happened. As they sat together, cherishing a tender moment, James suddenly collapsed. Despite immediate medical attention, he had suffered a massive heart attack. In a heart-wrenching revelation, Paula later shared in interviews that her husband died in her arms, his final moments filled with love and tranquility despite the tragedy. Emergency services responded swiftly, and Coburn was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, one of Los Angeles' most prestigious hospitals. However, even the most advanced care could not reverse the damage, and he was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The news sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond. Many were stunned, especially as Coburn had recently experienced an incredible professional comeback. After years of battling debilitating rheumatoid arthritis that had nearly ended his acting career during the 1980s and early 1990s, he found unexpected relief through experimental holistic therapies, including a controversial supplement derived from shark cartilage. This treatment led to a remarkable improvement in his health and enabled him to return to the screen with renewed strength and presence. In 1999, he reached a career milestone by winning the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role in Affliction, a performance that marked a powerful resurgence in his later years. Coburn's passing was not only the end of a storied acting journey, but also a tremendous loss to his loved ones, colleagues, and the many fans who admired his signature gravelly voice, his unshakable cool, and his compelling performances in classics like The Magnificent Seven, Our Man Flint, and Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Tragically, the grief of losing James Coburn was compounded less than 2 years later when his wife, Paula Coburn, passed away from cancer. She died on July 30th, 2004, at the age of just 48, leaving those who knew the couple reeling from another devastating blow in such a short span of time. A former actress and television executive, Paula was not only a devoted wife, but also James's unwavering pillar of support throughout their marriage. She stood beside him during the painful years of his illness, encouraged his return to acting, and celebrated his later life successes with pride and love. Their relationship was widely regarded as deeply affectionate and enduring, a partnership built on mutual admiration, shared passions, and emotional closeness. The couple frequently appeared together at Hollywood functions, always radiating warmth and affection, admired as much for their connection as for their individual achievements. Paula's passing added a melancholic coda to their story, emphasizing not only the strength of the bond they shared, but also the cruel brevity of their time together. In both life and death, The closeness between James and Paula Coburn remained evident to all who knew them. They are remembered not only for their individual contributions to the entertainment industry, but for the deep, unwavering love that defined their relationship. A love that endured until the very end.